Good morning. Alan here with our Friday drop-in meditation. Good to be with you. Hope you're well. Well, we'll do our normal procedure. Half the hour will be mindfulness meditation, mostly using the breath. The other half will be guided analytical meditation, and it'll be on equanimity today. I'll start with a quote from Lama Yeshe, as we normally do, about meditation, particularly mindfulness meditation. So he's talking about the things that come up when we're sitting still and watching the mind. He says both physical feelings and psychological states, like thoughts, are transitory. They never last. So just relax, watching how your body reacts to physical feelings and psychological states, and how your mind reacts when they arise. Don't intellectualize. Relax and let go. Be conscious and aware. How does the feeling arise? Where does it come from? So just on the tendency for these feelings, physical feelings, thoughts arising, and the difficulty it is to remain still. I think I mentioned this before, but Alan Wallace, in one of his classes last year, the Balmain Town Hall, on the Vipassana retreat, the Shamatha retreat, he said most of people are probably, certainly include myself, are addicted to distractions, addicted to having something from the outside. So if we haven't got any experience of meditation or any guidance on how to meditate, the mind is conditioned, particularly with all the devices, to want to look for some outside input, outside stimulus. And he gives this wonderful example of an experiment, I think at Harvard University, where students were put in a room for 15 minutes with only a chair and nothing else. Very perfect conditions, not too hot, not too cold, completely quiet. The only thing apart from the chair was an electrical socket that they could put their finger in to get an electric shock. Guess what? During that 15 minutes, 2/3 of the men use the electrical socket to get an unpleasant electrical shock, and only 25% of the women use the electrical shock socket. So this need for distraction, even something unpleasant, rather than confronting our own mind, well demonstrated in that experiment. Also good to see that the women are much less addicted to having something to think outside to stimulate them. Only 25% of the women use the electrical socket. Quite amazing that anyone would want to do that. I mean, I guess if we've had some experience of meditation, we can see that 15 minutes could be an opportunity to try to do some practice. Maybe not able to do it perfectly, but at least you can see the benefit of having that perfect environment. But if you've never come across meditation or had any teaching on how to meditate, the electrical socket might be the best thing to relieve the boredom. So let's do our 15 minutes, 20 minutes or so. So we'll do our normal motivation, etc. Remember that the actual practice of mindfulness meditation is neutral. It's neither virtuous or non-virtuous. So good to make it virtuous by bringing other people into the practice. We're doing something. This practice is not just to calm myself, and it's kind of an aspirator, tranquilizer, make myself feel better. But by calming the mind, I'm going to benefit those around me. We know that when we see people who are very centered, that they have an effect on their surroundings and on other people. And then the big motivation, the big Vajrayana motivation is not just to benefit those around us, we're doing it ultimately to benefit all beings in the universe, because we ultimately want to become able to benefit all beings by becoming fully liberated and enlightened beings. So that we're on the path to that. Also, just as a variation to from the breath meditation, normally we use the breath as the object. I'll introduce the possibility of sound, introducing sound, letting go of the breath and just using sound awareness as our object. So the sound awareness could be external sounds, particularly if we're in a noisy environment. Could be good noise, could be birds calling, whatever. And it could, if it's very quiet, we might even be able to hear the sound of our breath. Because remember that when we're breathing, it's a sensory feeling. You can feel the movement of the body with the breath, movement of the breath in the body. But we could also hear the sound of the breath coming and going in the body. So we can use that internal sound to focus on. So the sound awareness, it's both external, internal sound. And remember, we're observing. So being mindful to try and neutralize our reaction, not, oh, that's a nice sound, I wonder what that bird is, etc. Or I hate that the sound of the lawnmower, whatever it is. So if we tend to do that, observe, watch the commentary, and then let go of the commentary. Just naked sound, naked awareness of the sound. It's what we're after. Same with the breath. Whatever the qualities are, we notice, and we observe, and we let it be as it is. Okay, let's do our practice. Get comfortable, sitting, lying, comfortable physical position. Now we settle our body, speech and mind in its natural state, which is basically meaning that we leave the body as it is, comfortable, letting go of the tension. Speech, quiet. Externally, no speech. Internally, reducing the chit-chat, inner monologue, and the mind, resting it in stillness. Thoughts coming and going, but watching from the stillness. Then checking our motivation. Why are we doing the practice? Motivation to make it virtuous practice needs to include other beings, other people. The effect of calming the mind will benefit those around us in our daily life. Ultimately, the big motivation, calm mind, is the beginning of our wisdom mind, our compassion mind, the mind of enlightenment, the path that we're on to enlightenment for the benefit of every single sentient being, the ultimate motivation, to benefit them. now coming into the body, just checking our balance. Distribution of weight should be even. The floor of the chair or the cushion. The shoulders should be relaxed. Letting go of tension in the neck and the head, particularly the eyes and the face. Eyes can be open, half open or closed. Softening the muscles around the face. Feeling the weight of the body on the cushion. Gentle pull of gravity into the earth. Allowing ourselves to let go, to be held by the earth. Trusting the earth to hold us. Trusting ourselves to let go. Go all the busy minds, worries, concerns, and plans, just for this one session. With each out-breath, breathe out the tension in the body. Breathe out the busyness of the thoughts. And then feeling the breath entering and leaving the body. If we're sleepy, focus on the in-breath, alertness and mindfulness with the in-breath. If we're too and then coming to rest on the breath, staying with the full flow of the in-breath, full flow of the out-breath. This is home, our resting place, our anchor. Down to earth, on the breath. Staying alert for when the mind leaves the breath and is distracted, noticing when that happens. Just notice, gently let go of the thought, the sound, whatever it is, let it go. Just a thought. And then come back to that breath, home to the breath. thoughts may arise, we notice, but we don't get distracted. We let them go back into the mind and then come back to the breath. Feeling how the breath moves the body. One breath at a time. If we're on the breath, we're in the present moment. And either staying with the breath as the object for the practice, or the option of moving from breath awareness to sound awareness, what we hear, the realm of the heard, external sound, pleasant, unpleasant, internal sounds, the breath, what we hear. We just hear. Naked awareness of sound. No need to comment, to like, dislike. If we do, notice that. Notice the attraction or the aversion to the sound. And let go. Just watch the sound. From this space of awareness, stillness of the mind, we watch any sound that comes in. Thoughts will arise. And we observe and let them go back into the space of the mind, the clouds into the sky. And just relax. So just to finish the mindfulness meditation, also good to remember to quote Lama Yeshe again, when it's time to get up from meditation, get up slowly with awareness. Relax, but walk with awareness of your feelings. Go to the toilet or do one meditation. Everything in your life can become meditation. So the second meditation we'll do is one on equilibrium meditation. Equanimity it's sometimes called, or the one I like better is common humanity. So common humanity, developing equilibrium has, I think, two meanings as far as I can tell from the teachings, Tibetan Buddhist teachings. One is a feeling of calmness of the mind, untroubled, undisturbed. And the other one is a feeling of equal regard to all humans, all beings, not just humans, all beings. So feeling the sense of interconnectedness with other beings, other living beings. And of course they overlap, because if you have that feeling of interconnectedness, then the calm equilibrium mind arises. So again, feeling a couple of words from Lama Yeshe on equilibrium meditation. Many religions teach the importance of universal love, but what is, the question is how you develop it within yourself. The first step is to develop a universe. Treat your mind sympathetically, with loving kindness. If you're gentle with yourself, you'll become gentle with others, so don't push. So when you experience this feeling of equilibrium, you experience an incredible universal spaciousness. Your tight, narrow mind becomes completely open, because it's come in from the extremes of thought to the middle way. Your mind feels comfortable. The first time you become truly mentally healthy. It's not just some theory, but a living experience, says Lama Yeshe. So this feeling of commonality, common humanity, is talked about quite a lot by Thupten Jinpa in his book, The Fearless Heart. And he says that, talks about in terms of perceived similarity. There is a similarity, commonality between us and others. He says this elicits our natural capacity for empathetic concern. And by contrast, not having this feeling of commonality or similarity, not recognizing this, creates attitudes that contradict our empathetic nature. And he gives examples through history of the Holocaust, feeling towards refugees as undesirables, people we need to keep out. The extreme religious views where anyone who's not adopting this religious doctrine is an enemy. The Rwanda genocide, so on. These perceived differences Again, just hallucinations of the mind. So this, another interesting concept is one of identifiable victim. Zen says that if we can identify somebody who's like us and suffering like us, then this helps to engender this feeling of concern and common humanity. So the COVID-19 virus is a fantastic opportunity, because we're all equally susceptible to this invisible, horrible disease that can destroy, kill. So this is a good opportunity to feel that, just like myself, all these every single person in the world, living human being in the world, would have the same wish not to be infected. And when we hear that some are, we have the opportunity to feel that, not just commonality, but also compassion. The person suffering from that disease, and remember that there are other diseases. It's not just COVID. So that's part of the background of the practice. So in the actual practice, we bring to mind friend, enemy, and stranger. Friend, enemy, and stranger, which is, according to the Buddhist psychology, the way we tend to approach all human contact. This person is my friend, could be a loved one, husband, wife, parents. This is the person who's really important to me. The enemy, someone who we immediately feel uncomfortable with. There's usually some in our lives, or if not in our current life. In the past, we've had people who just might be strong, averse feeling, or it could be just a feeling of uncomfortableness. It could be with a reason or without a reason, close to or averse to. They're just there in the background. So we're particularly, this practice is bringing those people into the foreground. They're just like friend and enemy. Strangers are also equally deserving of our affection, loving kindness, concern. So we try and level that fantastic practice. And as Lama Yeshe said, we need to have a concern for ourselves, a respect for ourselves before we can start feeling that concern for others, making peace with ourselves, it is really. So, and then of course the end of the practice is this bringing to mind all these categories and wishing them health, just like myself, wishing them happiness, health, and living in peace, extending that to all beings. Okay, good practice. Coming into our body and mind, bringing our awareness inwards to the breath to start practice. Returning to that calm sense of stillness in the first practice. Comfortable. Now we begin our practice of equanimity meditation, otherwise known as common humanity meditation, by starting with visualizing in front of us someone who we naturally feel close to. Just think of that person. Could even be a pet. Just feeling that natural affection rising. Effortlessly. Then we bring somebody who we don't like or feel uncomfortable with, and again watch our first reaction without intellectualizing it. So as we think of that difficult person, then bring to mind some person who's neutral. It could be someone we see in our neighborhood. It could be just a crowd of people in the shops, the streets. And watch that neutral feeling, neither like or dislike, the person who's neither helped or harmed us. A neutral feeling. Observe that. So there are the initial reactions. Now we come back to the friend, the comfortable one, the loved one. Acknowledging that those people have the same need for happiness as we do. They don't want suffering, just as we don't. They don't want sickness. They want good health, well-being. And we can extend that to them easily. Perhaps because they've helped us. We see them as like-minded. Also, think now how, is there a time when this person wasn't in our lives? It was perhaps a stranger. All our friends were never our friends from birth. Acknowledging that some friends we've fallen out with and no longer friends with. Acknowledging that sometimes we just drift away from friends. Acknowledging the impermanence of the relationship and friendship. Sometimes the friend has become an enemy. They've done something unkind, said unkind words. Our own benefits. How much is the concern for that other thing, and how much concern for ourselves? Just watching that, analysing. The enemy in front of us, uncomfortable situation when we first confront that person. Maybe they've harmed us. That's why you feel this difficult situation, difficult attitude. Maybe they've said something, done something. Admit, don't suppress the feeling, just watch it. Experience. Now seeing that person from a different viewpoint, not from our own narrow experience of that person. Experience acknowledging that that person to another person is a loved one, is cherished. Sees only someone, sees that person as only good. Also, imagining if that person said something very kind to us or did something very kind to us, how that would change our attitude to a difficult person. Perhaps we can think of examples where somebody has done that. We've reconciled. Something has changed. Remember, this person was once a neutral person in our life, wasn't always an enemy. It's acknowledging the impermanence of that relationship, the fact that it's just something that we see throughout our life. Acknowledging that person is also like us, doesn't want any suffering, any sickness, any difficulty, like us. They're trying to make the best of their lives like us. They have the same wishes for happiness as us. Acknowledging that, staying with that thought. Also acknowledging that if there is a difficult person in our life, that person provides the opportunity for us to develop our minds, particularly patience, not becoming angry. It's the opportunity for us to develop our minds, particularly patience, not becoming angry, not becoming upset. Patience is the basis of compassion, non-anger, essential to make progress, developing our minds, developing compassion. Without that person, we couldn't do it. In this way, acknowledging that this person is more important than the friend, more important for our mental progress along the path, not down the progress. Then, moving from the difficult one to the stranger, the person we don't notice, work colleague, neighbour, less concern than for the loved one, less dislike than from the stranger, or acknowledging this is the vast majority of humanity, the stranger going about their lives like us. From the strangers came the friend, who was once a stranger. From the stranger, just like me, he wants only happiness, no suffering, no illness, no coronavirus. No disruption to his life, his welfare, his family, his financial well-being, just like us. Or a person in another country, different race, different language, different culture, all with this common wish to make the most of their lives, be happy. And now bringing all the friend, enemy and stranger in front of us, all those who are similar, friends we know, all the enemies we know, and then the strangers, remember, filling all the 10 directions, vast numbers. Acknowledging these beings like myself, all in happiness, not suffering. All experience suffering, unwanted suffering like myself. Will experience fear, anger, depression, attachment, impatience. The humans all feeling the coronavirus right now, like myself, not wanting to get sick. I'm one, they are infinite in number, which is my point. So, obviously, the number of infinite beings is far more important. Extending our wish to friend, enemy, and stranger, seeing the common humanity and wishing them, staying with that thought, extending goodwill. If we know the mantra of Mani Padme Hum, the mantra of loving compassion, extending that, we can say that. May you all sentient beings all have happiness, have healthiness, have peace in your lives. And finally, dedicate any good good impressions on our mind, merit we've just developed from this practice towards our equanimity, towards all beings, an equilibrium of mind, our development of loving kindness and compassion to all beings, which is essential for our progress, in our Dharma practice, along with wisdom, understanding the nature of reality. Dedicating towards peace in our minds, peace in the minds of all sentient beings, peace in the world. Thanks so much. Great to be with you. That's the practice today. Have a good week, good day, good week. And I look forward to seeing you next week at the same time. Hopefully we'll have this wonderful uninterrupted transmission. And we'll see you next week. Take care. Stay well.